Welcome to Frontline at 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. No tap out for the UFC event at the White House. A judge ruling that Sunday's epic UFC fight will go on as planned after a couple of whiny Virginians filed a lawsuit trying to stop it. And it doesn't get more low than this. Two kids had their lemonade stand robbed at gunpoint for $50. Their dad saying this about the lack of cops.
It's outrageous that in such a good community that we can have something like this happen. I think we need some more presence around in order for this to never happen again.
Yet Democrats have continued their rally cry to defund the police. And the truth is now out there, the Pentagon today dropping another batch of documents and videos regarding UFOs, including a memo claiming that the CIA once destroyed a message from space. But first, deal or no deal? What is going on with Iran? I'm Lidia Curanaj in for the one and only Carl Higbie, and Frontline starts right now. We're following this one closely. President Trump saying a peace deal with Iran could be signed as early as Sunday. Iran's foreign minister also signaling that the finish line may actually be in sight. Finally, national security correspondent Carla Babb, she has the latest.
Hey there, we've been to moments like these before, but there are very positive vibes coming from the United States and Iran, with the two countries saying that they are close to signing a memorandum of understanding. They're calling it the Islamabad Agreement. Now, according to officials, the terms would extend a ceasefire, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and pave the way for nuclear talks. Now, even after Iran fired 2 drones into the Strait of Hormuz earlier today, targeting commercial shipping. I've been told by U.S. officials that the U.S. did shoot down both of those drones. Meantime, the president taking to Truth Social today saying, quote, the terms that Iran leaked out to the fake news had nothing to do with the terms that were agreed to in writing. What they said, including their weak and pathetic statement on having a deal, bears no relation to the truth. Very dishonorable people to deal with. With them, there is no such thing as dealing in good faith. Amazing. Also, their totally rebuffed drone attack last night against Indian ships leading the Hormuz Strait is totally unacceptable. They better get their act together, and fast. Now, Iran's foreign minister posting this on X, saying he thinks his country is close to a deal and that the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding has never been closer. Pending its finalization, the media should refrain from entering speculation about its content. So, President Trump says they are close to a deal. The Iranians say they're close to a deal. The president even retweeted the Iranian foreign minister's post on X. A senior administration official also emphasizing that this deal would not put money up front for Iran in this deal, and that highly enriched uranium must come out of the country. Back to you.
Carla, thank you so much for that report. Yeah, because there is a lot of talk about billions of dollars being unfrozen. Let's bring in Brent Sadler, retired U.S. Navy and senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Captain Sadler, thank you so much for joining us. So we're hearing, Reuters is reporting that the UAE has agreed to unlock billions of dollars for Iran in exchange for this deal. You just heard Carla, though, say that Trump said no, there's no money, all from Iranian oil revenue that was frozen in foreign banks under U.S. sanctions. And again, reportedly, the UAE has agreed to release a total of about $20 billion, while the first $3 billion has already been released. I know that there was this spokesperson for the Iranian regime that gave an interview with CNN, also saying we want our $24 billion back. Captain Sadler, what do you make about these reports about billions of dollars being unfrozen? Do they confuse Trump with Obama and Biden? Because we're not sending any pallets of cash. No mullah for the mullahs.
Yes, I think that's the intent, is to try to make Trump look like he's no different than Obama, and that he's willing to send cash to the regime in Tehran. And certainly nothing of the sort should be executed or moved in funds of any form until the nuclear dust, the enriched uranium, and the Straits of Hormuz are not being contested at all, and it's flowing, and the shipping is flowing freely. So none of that money should be released on that. And I think there was a great deal Secretary Bessent was talking about using the frozen assets to pay for the damages that Iran inflicted on neighbors who weren't even a party to the conflict. And so I think after that money is spent, then maybe the other can be discussed. But this is not the time to be releasing or relenting on anything. It's the Iranians that have to actually put up the money, so to speak, and get the results done.
Captain, here is the situation. You know how they say the boy that cries wolf, the president that cries peace. You know, we've heard this before. Does the president, he obviously is a very smart man. He's playing chess while other people are playing checkers. But perhaps is he underestimating the savagery of this regime? They killed 45,000 of their own people. They beat women if they have hair showing under their hijab. Women are property. Women are it goes on and on. So because he's trying to do this diplomatically. Can it be done that way with no more bloodshed, no more bombing? Because we are dealing with a different class of people here, this regime.
Well, there's two things there. One, trying to get the immediate issue, the conflict right now resolved, or at least get the fighting kind of stopped, and to get at least the global energy markets back to full capacity. It's not going to be the same. Thankfully, it's going to benefit America because a lot of ships now are going to U.S. To get American petroleum, but we need to get back to normal. The other part of your point is more about the nature of this regime. A lot of people conflate that with regime change. The better way to look at it is the regime itself has to change, and it needs to change its nature, because as long as it dehumanizes people, views Israelis as a valid target for terrorist attacks, and going and killing Americans as their mantra and the way they end their speeches, we're going to have a problem, and it's going to come back eventually. So the nature of this regime is the problem, and that has to change too.
Yeah, that's been the problem. Captain Sadler, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
All right, now to another part of the world where peace there also remaining elusive. Northern Ireland, where residents are flat out saying they do not want any more illegal migrants.
It's like a ticking time bomb. It's like a ticking time bomb waiting to go off.
Do you think this is going to last, or is it going to...
Yeah, I think it is going to last, yeah. I hope it lasts. I hope it does. Yeah. We don't give up this time.
This time, right, the Northern Irish refusing to give up their country and succumb to the invasion of illegals and others from Muslim-majority countries. Northern Ireland burns while tensions boil over after the true reality of radical Islam once again reared its ugly head there.
These are facts, people. Check it if you don't believe me. Look all over the world. They're trying to wipe out Christianity. And now they've got to Ireland, and that's their plan. And it's looking very likely to me. The travellers are already taking up less than 1% of the population. Now the average Irish person are going to be a minority in this country if we do not stand up.
There, you just heard there from some of the angry protesters, and they're angry after video surfaced of the Belfast beheader. If we've got that video right there. This horrific video, a glimpse of what's to come to our shore. The media calls it a stabbing when clearly the guy is trying to chop another guy's head off. Just vile, disgusting. The victim, Stephen Ogilvie, has now lost sight in his left eye, but somehow he's still alive. We're not going to show you the picture of him in the hospital. It is simply too gruesome. Multiple reports say that the suspect, Hadi Al-Odid, knew his victim and attacked him while Stephen was helping him move into his taxpayer-funded apartment. Al-Odid is a so-called Muslim refugee from Sudan who illegally crossed into Ireland 3 years ago. The Northern Irish government then fast-tracked his asylum claim. Reports showing that applicants from Sudan have the highest initial asylum acceptance rate of 94%. 94%. And while many have escaped Sudan's Islamic regime, clearly it's not as easy to leave behind its barbaric ways. What may seem like a horror movie, right? When you first saw this video, when I first saw it online, it was so vile and disgusting. This is abnormal to people like me and you, civilized. It's a grim daily reality for people that are doing this in their countries. The attempted beheading. It's now the most high-profile case, but since the UK opened up its borders, crime overall there has been on the rise, like we saw here in the United States when our borders were opened under Joe Biden. Rapes, murders, drugs. Northern Ireland, for many, has now become unrecognizable.
I drive down the main road, the Antrim Road, Common Road, and it doesn't look like Belfast anymore. Every bus stop is full of foreign nationals. Now, there's never been a problem with immigration in Ireland whatsoever. There's no racist thing. It's not a colour problem. It's a culture problem. There's people coming with obscene cultures into our country. They are beheading people.
That man also said that Christians and Protestants are coming together, right? That's one good thing, right, that comes out of this. Meantime, the media portraying this Belfast uprising as an alt-right hate campaign. Everybody is afraid. The New York Times, look at that, anti-immigration. And the liberal politicians like this British member of parliament have the audacity to call for calm.
Does the Prime Minister agree this is not who we are as a country, and that it is not free speech if it is controlled by tech billionaires and their algorithms? So will he crack down properly on platforms like X that are fueling violence and hatred?
Violence and hatred? You really want to blame Elon Musk? That's who he's talking about for this chaos when it's people like you that caused this. You gave away your country, your culture, your religion for what? We know power. That's all these libs they care about. So you can bribe these migrants with taxpayer-funded free stuff so then they'll vote for your party. It sounds familiar, right? You know why? That's all they care about. We've seen it time and time again. But again, why are we even shocked by this beheading, right? And them kind of excusing it away. Sudan, as we know, is run by an Islamic warlord named General al-Burhan. His government aligns with the Muslim Brotherhood, growing its terror network throughout the world. Christians we're seeing being persecuted all over the world. And meantime, if we go to a Muslim country, we're expected to follow their laws, which I could understand. We're supposed to obey their society. You know, I would have to cover my head. I'd have to walk behind my husband and not be allowed to be out in public without a male in my presence. That's why you will never catch me in one of those countries. And Northern Irish officials, rather than issue an apology for what they've done to their once beautiful country with their woke DEI nonsense, well, here's what the First Minister of Northern Ireland said instead.
The issue that we saw over the course of the last number of nights has been pure racism in its vilest form, and we say very clearly no to racism in our society, and I believe that is where the vast majority of people are here. The vast majority of people here are good and welcoming and inclusive.
Inclusivity. And then we wonder why some people say women don't belong in politics. Joining me now, British independent journalist Jack Hadfield. Jack, thanks so much for joining us. The politicians, that's where this starts. The fact that they're making apologies, calling this racial, when clearly the people have had enough.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I think it pretty is clear that it's the politicians' fault, given that they're the ones who brought these people into the country to begin with. You obviously mentioned the acceptance rate there and the fast tracking of Sudanese refugees. And this is something that happened under the previous Conservative government. This was a policy that was foisted upon the government by former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And of course, he took over from Boris Johnson. And we now have an influx of migrants that happened during the tenure of Boris and Rishi that we now refer to as the Boris wave. And I think that's why you now see parties like Reform and now Restore rising on the right, is because the British people have realised that actually it's parties of both stripes. It's been both Labour and Conservatives, the left and the right, who for the previous, I mean, certainly my entire life, I was born in the late 90s, so the very last 3 decades or so, at the very least, have completely opened the borders to people, again, from horrendous cultures who will just commit these horrific acts of violence on our streets. Now, crime, I think you mentioned that crime has gone up since the migration has increased. That's slightly not true overall. It has gone down, but what has gone up?
But that's because they're manipulating the numbers. Can't they just manipulate the numbers and declassify certain crimes?
So what we've seen is that generally British society has gotten safer. But what has increased are the horrendous crimes that we see, like on the streets now. Beheadings, stranger rapes, for example, obviously the grooming gangs caused by the Pakistani Muslims in Britain, shoplifting, thefts, muggings, all of the crime that is becoming so visible on the streets of Britain now. And that makes people think that, this has become a lawless country, because now this is crime that's not necessarily in the back rooms somewhere. It's crime that is happening in front of your eyes. And so some British people, some British politicians have been trying to say that because it's crime is is lowering down overall, that actually we're not living in a more disorderly country, but we are. Now we're having these more disordered, obvious crimes on the streets that, frankly, make people so afraid.
I truly believe that if it wasn't for President Trump, if Kamala Harris had won, exactly what's going on now in the UK, we'd be seeing it happening here in the United States, if not worse. Do you agree with that it starts at the top here? Because it can't be a coincidence that we're seeing rape gangs, people getting beheaded, and all of these crimes going up as soon as you open the borders. You're importing the third world, and they're bringing their brutality with them. It's like you're changing the geography, but you cannot change the mentality that easily.
Yeah, you import the third world, you become the third world. This is what former MP Sarah Pochen just said the other day, and I think it's exactly true. These people don't understand how Western civilization has grown and functioned. They come from violent cultures where violence is just a part of everyday life. I heard somebody talking about rapes in third world countries recently, and apparently it's just considered a fact of life. And ironically, they try to sweep it off. They don't have PTSD because it just happens. Rape is just a thing that happens in some of these countries around the world. And these people who live there are now coming here and committing these crimes. And the fact all of these crimes are happening, they would never have happened if we hadn't opened the borders. So you have to say that every single politician who is pro-open borders has blood on their hands.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say to people that say, you know what, it's not about Islam? It's not about Islam, when we're seeing that the majority of these people that are committing these horrendous crimes, the beheadings, the rapes, they are Islamic.
Yeah, there are definitely some aspect to that, for sure. If you look at the way that Islam treats non-Muslims, they are just sort of cattle to them, etc. There is that attitude that's prevalent with Islam. And then, of course, you have the terrorist attacks that are motivated ideologically by Islam. And of course, you've had this in the States, we've had this in Britain. But then there are also many of these migrant crimes now that have no connection to Islam, and it's just because these people who do come from these cultures, which overall has a more violent tendency. And that's where you see some of the more crimes. I think, for example, in Southport, where Axel Rudikabana, murdered three young girls. That seemed to have no connection to Islam, and he just went basically crazy and had this anti-white hatred and wanted to kill people.
But was the suspect, Muslim, just like this Aladid guy?
So he came. His family was Christian, for example. Oh. So there are more cases like this, and frankly, that's why Southport 2 years ago we had the riots there, because I think people can understand, they can comprehend Islamic terrorism. It has a political goal. It's obviously it's horrendous, but it's understandable. It's comprehensible. For somebody just to, out of pure hatred and violence in their heart, for no reason other than just to cause people harm, that people can't comprehend.
Jack, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, Tulsi Gabbard dropping a bombshell that the deep state didn't want you to know about. We've got that later in this show. But first, the left continues to make Karmelo Anthony's sentencing a racial issue. Their latest talking point, that he protected himself against a white aggressor and that it was an all-white jury. Well, we've got the real truth. We've got the liberal media spin on this story next.
Whoa. I need a medic.
No warning, no time. When suspects turn violent, officers have seconds to survive. Watch the Caught on Body Cam series for the drama, the actual footage.
Suspect down! Suspect down!
The real life, all on Newsmax Plus. Start your free trial today at newsmaxplus.com.
The Dutton Ranch. We're back in business.
You heard right. Let's go to work. I'm glad you're making friends, honey.
You're every bit as advertised.
You're damn right he is.
Fighting a good fight, buddy.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
We've been building chainsaws for over 100 years. Now, that century of cutting comes in a mower. New blade, same bloodline. Right now, save $50 on select mowers. Steel.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
Well, you heard Carl saying this all week, this obsession to make the Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony case a racial issue when it never was one. The social justice warriors on their high horses demanding that the white man capitulate to their demands or else. And now, white people, they're actually being beaten and slapped like this guy right here on the streets because they look like they may have been on the jury that convicted Anthony of murder, all because these people, they're being fed a big bag of BS like this.
What stuck out to me, number one, was the all-white jury.
It was an all-white jury.
I don't think that all white people should be able to do anything in secret at all.
It's like saying a real estate developer is on trial. We can't have anyone on the jury who owns any real estate. That's just ridiculous.
Well, the lie detector determined that was a lie because it was not an all-white jury. The trial of Karmelo Anthony featured a racially diverse jury, including Asian, Hispanic, as well as Middle Eastern jurors, in addition to the white jurors. And by the way, many of the witnesses that testified against Karmelo, they were black. Joining me now to discuss, Vince Everett Ellison, host of the Vince Everett Ellison Show. Also with us, Reverend Jordan Wells, Reverend at the Joel II Generation Church. I see you gentlemen shaking your head. I'll start off with you, Vince. What is, you just heard Don Sour Lemon also lying. I get the family lying, but the media to also perpetuate this all-white jury narrative. How harmful is that?
Well, it's terribly harmful. They have to lie. That's all they do. I mean, we see on up before the House right now, we see the SPLC, Ike Blue, all of them up there lying about racism. Racism is so minuscule in America right now, they have to manufacture it. They know what they're doing. They have to have it because this is all they have. And I want to tell your viewers right now to not let these people make you live in condemnation. Don't run from them. Don't try to justify yourself to them. Just tell them if you need a good doctor, I help you find one. If you need a good job, I help you get one. If you need to be educated, I help you get educated. But short of that, I'm not going to live in condemnation for you. And if you try to hurt me or mine, I got two things that get you off from me. And that's Jesus in my 38. You better not try me. So I'm tired of these people. All they want to do is start envy, strife, hatred. And America is not bonding anymore, as we see with this last election. Right now, Donald Trump has lost support in every part of America except for the black community. It's rising there. Why? Because Newsmax gives people like me a platform to tell the truth. And the truth is racism is a lie in the United States of America. Go out there, earn it, and you'll see what you'll get. You have great things in this great country.
Reverend, I want to thank you, sir, Vince, for that. Now, Reverend, everyone apparently is now a legal expert. I want you to listen to the advice of these two podcast hosts they gave to black people selected for this jury. Listen to this.
Don't say, no, I'm not finna put a black man in jail. Don't say that. And then everybody's like in an uproar because there's no black people on the jury when damn near half of the black people who could have been on the jury canceled themselves out. When you go up there, say, no, I have never heard about this case. I can be fair. Say that, okay? And then mean it, believe it a little bit. So don't go in there and act like all of a sudden you have to be the most honest person you've ever been.
So, Reverend, these women are encouraging people to lie just so they can get on a jury and rig the conviction. What do you think about them making this about a racial issue? The jury found him, this Karmelo Anthony, and it's a tragedy. He was 17, now he's 19. Austin Metcalf, 17 years old. These 2 lives, it's just, and Austin and gone over what? And you have the family perpetuating Karmelo as the victim here.
It's pretty sad. And, you know, the thing is, if this was, I said it before, if there were 2 black people on this case or 2 white people on this case, it would, first of all, if there was 2 black people, black community wouldn't even care. The only time black people care about anything is when it's with a white person. But yet we have 30, 40 killings in Chicago every weekend. We have black on black crime. We got kids getting shot. My mom calls me every day from Indianapolis, and people are getting shot at. Black people are shooting each other in churches. And nobody in the black community, the D.L. Hugleys, the Cardi B's, none of them care when it's black on black crime. But the only thing they care about is when a white person is involved. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of the outrage. I'm tired of being emotionally pimped by the left and the Democratic Party because they only can win elections because they know African Americans are emotional. My friend on the other side, he could tell you, we're emotional people. We go to church and we shout. We don't know what the sermon's about. We vote for Democrat 80, 90% of the time, and we don't even know what policies are. When Kamala announced she was running for office, most people said, I'm with her, and they didn't even know what her policies was. So that's what the black community does. We stand on emotion and not fact, and this case was built on fact. The true fact of the case was that that Karmelo Anthony brought a knife to school. He shouldn't have had the knife on the school. It was not self-defense. He stabbed that man in cold blood, and he was lucky that he got 35 years and did not get 99 years. That is the truth.
Amen. Amen. We got to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you both. We'll get you back. Thank you. Great conversation. Thank you. Next on Frontline, an angel dad whose daughter was victimized by an illegal alien is now turning his pain into purpose. Also, the latest on the Trump administration's effort to track down the hundreds of thousands still missing migrant kids that came in under Joe Biden right after this.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
Summer is coming fast. Get your best body now with Sono Bello. Just one visit is all it takes to permanently remove stubborn fat.
I went from this to this in just one visit.
Our micro laser technology transforms your body.
My shirts were extra large. Now I'm wearing a bikini.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 5-star reviews and is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Call now for your personalized consultation. That's over a $250 value. Free. Call Sono Bello today.
Look what I just found. No ding decline on the Experian app. They show me credit cards that won't hurt my credit if I'm not approved. Turns out I care about my credit health too. Get the app from your big financial friend. Experian.
We can all agree, steak is for dads. Grill dads, charcoal dads, tongue-snapping dads, united by their love of steak. His perfect gift is waiting, plus 8 free burgers at omahasteaks.com.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Life with ear ringing sounded like a constant train whistle I couldn't escape. Then I started taking Lipoflavonoid. With 60 years of clinical experience, it's the #1 doctor-recommended brand for ear ringing. And now I'm finally free. Take back control with Lipoflavonoid.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Stop trusting foreign antivirus to defeat foreign-made ransomware. American-made PCmatic protects your family, your home, and your workplace. Go to PCmatic.com. Built by Americans to protect America.
Well, SpaceX debuted on the NASDAQ today, marking the largest IPO in history and officially sent Musk over the edge to become the world's first trillionaire. AOC is probably her head's popping off her body. Now take a look at this stack of $1 trillion in $100 bills. That's 631 miles high, 2.5 times as high as the International Space Station. That's a lot of money. Also, if you spent $1 million a day since Jesus was born, you still would not have reached $1 trillion, only spending a mere $700 billion. Here's another perspective for you, just how much money. You could buy all 32 NFL teams and all 30 NBA teams, and you would still have over $600 billion left over. Yeah, he's rich. Joining me now, Daily Caller senior politics reporter Ashley Brasfield. Also with us, executive director for Newsbusters, Tim Graham. So, I mean, you know, tax the rich, AOC always going after Elon Musk. Bernie Sanders is so upset right now, you cannot. What do you think? Elon Musk, trillionaire. You know, Tim, what do you think?
Didn't they all tell us that he was headed for disaster just a couple of years ago? I mean, really, at the time that he bought Twitter, they thought that was insane. And of course, they're rooting against him all the time. Even though at the beginning he was a hero because he was the electric car guy. But then once he bought X, he was the evil guy. Well, obviously, yes, things are looking up for Elon Musk.
They certainly are. Democrats, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. They can't define what a woman is, but now Democrats like Texas Senate candidate James Talarico thinks he can define what a real man is.
Here's what real men don't do. They don't lie and cheat their way through life. They don't sell their soul to the highest bidder. They don't steal from other people in order to enrich themselves. And so I've said before, and I will keep saying, that real men serve others. Weak men serve themselves.
Ashley, how manly is it to love trans kids?
You know, that is a great question. I mean, obviously, he's referring to Ken Paxton, some of the scandals behind that candidate. And, you know, there's been a controversy over whether the NRCC putting in $71 million for Cornyn and that money going, you know, towards the primary rather than the general election here. And I mean, Talarico's facing this uphill battle himself. He's claiming he's not a vegan now. And there's, you know, a plethora of girlfriends and former staffers coming out talking about their former relationships with him. So I think the battle between the two men is what this race is at this point in a lot of ways. And, you know, now you're seeing all these AI ads in this race. I think that's one of the most interesting things. The Daily Caller just covered one AI ad that it's gotten millions of views. So that's the next step in some of these races. I think the most apparent thing about this is the money in this Texas race.
Yeah. You know who can really define what a man is and who a man is, and that is President Trump. And a judge today ruling not to block the White House UFC fight Sunday after a liberal filed a lawsuit to stop the event. The judge smacked down the lawsuit, just like Trump did to Vince McMahon at WrestleMania, and I'm hoping we're going to see a repeat of this. Remember this? You were sitting. I remember this event. Look at this. Remember this? So, Tim, my brothers and I, huge WWF fans, now WWE. I remember this moment. He was Donald Trump back then, clotheslining Vince McMahon there. I'm hoping he's going to do something similar, walk into the octagon at UFC. What do you think? Maybe he'll take down some Hakeem Jeffries? How great would that be? Boom!
I think we can guess that Hakeem Jeffries was not invited, and even if he was invited, he would not show up. Look, the best part of this, obviously, for the wrestling fans, is the actual event. And the best part of for us who watch the media, is watching people like Lawrence O'Donnell melt like it's the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. They hate this so bad. It's so vulgar. It's just making the White House look so terrible. It's kind of funny.
What about when trans people were flashing? Yeah, that wasn't vulgar. We got to leave it there. Tim and Ashley, thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, on our way out of office, Tulsi Gabbard dropping a bombshell about secret labs the deep state didn't want you to know about.
He could tell me everything about my life, so he was looking for me for a long time.
Children are being manipulated and blackmailed online. The results can be deadly. Human trafficking is happening right here in America. Watch Stolen Lives, America's human trafficking crisis.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being a million miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
Healthy aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science pioneered by Human, supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, blood pressure, and energy. Results you can feel, science you can trust. Get started today at human.com.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact. Call now, and your gift's impact will be doubled.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
Outgoing Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard today releasing never-before-seen intel revealing new evidence of U.S. government funding for well over 100 biolabs in over 30 countries.
Until now, evidence regarding the full existence and funding of these laboratories had been knowingly withheld from you, the American people. Many of these U.S. government-funded biolabs are currently or have previously engaged in research using hazardous and highly contagious pathogens, and in some cases included dangerous gain-of-function research with very little visibility or oversight.
Gabbard highlighting what she says were efforts by the deep state to silence those raising concerns about these biolabs in recent years, noting skeptics were often branded traitors or even foreign assets. Gabbard saying that her office, which will hopefully soon be led by Trump nominee Jay Clayton, is now seeking to track down these secret labs.
Now, Odie and I will continue working closely with partners across the U.S. government to identify exactly where these labs are and what pathogens they contain to end dangerous gain-of-function research that threatens the health and well-being of the American people and people around the world.
The deep state takes another hit. Joe Pags is the host of the Joe Pags Show. Joe, talk to me about this story, how this is in the words of President Trump, huge.
It is huge. And Lydia, good to see you. You know, watching the DNI talk about this today, and I watched that entire thing like you did many times, I was surprised. I was shocked. And then I wasn't surprised nor shocked at all, because it's not beyond the understanding of most Americans now that Fauci, the NIH, and others have been doing gain of function for a long time. As you know, gain of function is you take something that's not so bad and you make it really, really bad for human beings, and then you sort of put it out there and go, hey, I can't believe that this thing was so bad for human beings. There's no reason for you and me and everybody watching and listening to ever pay for this. They took our money out of our paychecks and funded hundreds of labs around the world that we had no idea about as we're running deficit spending here. I'm so glad that the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, is putting it out there, and that the American public now has this ability to go back and say, listen, when you suspended me from Twitter because I said this might be going on, you were wrong and we were right. I'm glad we're finding out about it.
Yeah, remember during COVID, they said there was a magical bat like 1,000 miles away, and then somehow flew, floop, 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 you know, it flew down into the wet market.
It bit somebody, and in the wet market, somebody bought it, and they ate a chicken and a penguin. Come on.
Yeah, they made the magical soup. I mean, the premise of it was so absurd that it wouldn't even be something that Marvel would do. Maybe they would do, but they would make the bat, you know, non-binary.
Yeah, exactly. A non-binary superhero bat.
Exactly.
Right.
And it'd be a woman, black woman.
Yes.
All right. Gabbard also laid out the dangers posed by these labs and the deep state's efforts to make sure that they remain hidden. Take a look at this.
Now, despite the obvious potential for catastrophic global impact that research on dangerous pathogens in biolabs can have, politicians and so-called health professionals like Dr. Fauci, as well as entities within the Biden administration's national security team, lied repeatedly to the American people about the existence of U.S.-funded and supported biolabs. Not only did they lie, they threatened those who attempted to expose the truth.
I mean, you know, Senator Rand Paul, he's been on the forefront of this, calling out Dr. Fauci. But do you think there'll ever be accountability for this guy?
No, because he got pardoned. And you know what, Lydia, it's interesting. We didn't know why they pardoned him. I'm like, the guy was a bad guy. And to me, he's the modern day Dr. Kevorkian, and I mean that. But at the same time, he can say he was doing his job, and you've got this ability to do that job, and you know there's going to be risky. They literally, we now know today, I think we just now found out why he got pardoned, because they knew he lied, defrauded the American people, used your money and mine to fund what ended up killing millions around the globe. It blows my mind that this guy is untouchable now. Now, can you go and maybe try to charge him state by state? Yes, he was federally pardoned. But will they do that? I don't know. But now we know.
Now we know. God only knows how many kickbacks, because at the end of the day, when it doesn't make sense, it equates to dollars and cents. 100%. Joe Pags, thank you so much.
You're the best. Have a good weekend.
Next on Frontline, DHS announcing 146,000 unaccompanied migrant minors have been located in the U.S., but hundreds of thousands are still missing.
The road to greatness is long. But greatness isn't just forged from within. It has to be proven on the greatest stage of all.
The hype is real! This is the moment we have all been waiting for.
Ever wished you could brew your own beer, but figured it was too complicated, too messy, too much effort? Well, now you can. Meet Pinter, the home beer system everyone's talking about. Fresh beer, brewed and tapped by you. No fuss, no guesswork, just brew, chill, tap, done. You can craft 12 pints with every brew. Crisp lager, juicy and hoppy IPAs, smooth stouts, plus brew beers from top craft breweries you know and love. From the first tap to the last toast, hosting just got an upgrade. Nothing beats sharing your own fresh beer with friends. You don't need a garage brewery. You don't need a chemistry set. You just need a Pinter. Right now, get your Pinter free when you join our flexible beer plan. Choose your beers, brew fresh at home, and tap into the world's best beer experience. Free Pinter. Freshly brewed beer. Zero fuss. Go to pinter.com/spring to claim your offer today.
Spring. It's time to run it. Run it until the grass becomes a lawn, until the hedges duck and cover. Then, run it again.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Ready or not, here they come. The Trump administration coming to the rescue of unaccompanied migrant children, revealing they've located 146,000 minors so far. Most of them in sanctuary cities, and many of them saying that they were abandoned, abused, exploited after being trafficked across the southern border under Joe Biden. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin slamming sanctuary city leaders who go against ICE. Take a look at this.
Some of these kids claim that they were raped 600 to 700 times. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have kids, if you don't have kids. I don't care if you're a liberal, you're independent, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. If you can't stand for law enforcement to go find these kids, who are you? Who are you?
You're a sick individual. The Department of Justice indicting 3 alleged super sponsors accused of exploiting the very kids that they were claiming to protect. Joining me now to discuss this and more, Angel dad Marcus Coleman, his daughter Delilah, a victim of an illegal alien herself. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
An estimated 500,000 migrant children were smuggled into this country under Joe Biden. As we mentioned, 146,000 located, many of them reporting horrific conditions. This was a humanitarian crisis that was self-made. So what do you make of there not being a bipartisan effort to protect all kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, American citizens need to focus on. To sit there and have people coming into the United States abducting kids, women, and children. I mean, I think it's something that needs to be focused on. It's disgusting that people are okay with this. People are turning a blind eye to it, acting like it's normal, and it's not a normal part of the United States.
Now, yesterday, you and your daughter, Delilah, who is one of countless victims of illegal alien truck drivers, she was hit by an illegal alien driving a truck, met with Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin about the importance of passing Delilah's Law, which is a proposed legislation that would bar any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegals. I didn't even know this was happening. I mean, we saw it right here in New York that an illegal alien was given a commercial driver's license with no name given on it. No name given. That was the name. How outrageous is this? I mean, I can't even imagine how you must feel, sir.
It's very disgusting. It doesn't make any sense. You can go into a federal agency, a government agency, state agency, and they ask you what your name is, and you put no name given, or they leave it blank, and they're okay with that. The fact that these tests and the big thing that we're pushing right now with Delilah's Law is California allowing other languages to be used during these tests, when the only language that I see out there is English. And if you can't read English, taking a test, you can't understand English, how are you supposed to understand the roadways out there? It just doesn't make any sense.
How is Delilah doing?
She's actually doing very well. She's progressing a lot. We just started working with CNS, run about $60,000 a month, and we're trying to figure that out now. So it's definitely an uphill battle for us, but she's definitely progressing very well.
So tell us what happens exactly.
Right now, as far as moving forward, we're working with
No, but what happened with her
therapy.
incident with the illegal alien for our viewers that don't know?
Oh, well, yeah, she got involved in a pileup on the 395 here in California in a construction zone. There was signage out there that was sufficient for American drivers to see it. Evidently, the illegal alien didn't understand it. He went head on at about 65 miles an hour into 6 vehicles, her being the first vehicle. And he's back in India right now. He got deported. He's self-deported, and he's free while she's, here dealing with, this whole changed life. So we allowed illegal immigrants to come in and try for the American dream at the cost of American dreams for American citizens.
I'm so sorry. We'll continue to pray for Delilah. Thank you so much
I appreciate
for turning
you.
your
Thank
pain into purpose, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, Game 5 of the NBA Finals tomorrow, and New York is ready. That's next. Knicks in 5.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's all-American customer service team is standing by.
These days, supporting the right causes matters more than ever. That's why I chose Patriot Mobile. They're not just a great mobile service provider, they're all about giving back. Every bill helps support causes we believe in: family, faith, and freedom. You get great nationwide coverage on all 3 main networks. Even better, you're doing it with an American company that stands up for us. It's time to make the switch, y'all. Let's support a wireless company that's got our back. Go to patriotmobile.com and make the switch today.
You know, when it comes to gutter protection, there's a lot of names being thrown around out there, but there's only one Leaf Guard. Now, other companies will try to sell you a screen, a mesh, or a cover to go over your old gutters, but those don't compare to Leaf Guard. The top's not a cover, it's part of the gutter. Leaf Guard is the only patented one-piece seamless system with a clog-free guarantee and transferable lifetime warranty. And during our Ugly Gutters sale, trade in your old gutters and we'll give you up to $500 toward your purchase of a complete Leaf Guard system. And we'll even haul your old gutters away, plus 0 down and payment starting at just $75 a month. And call during this program for a bonus. Receive a free $100 Visa gift card with your in-home estimate. LeafGuard is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. And according to Guild Quality, LeafGuard customers are twice as happy. But don't just take our word for it.
We just wanted to know that we had good gutters.
To never clean again, that sold me right there.
It's one seamless piece from one end to the other.
LeafGuard works so well that it's received the Good Housekeeping seal for over 20 years. And it's attached to the fascia with screws, not nails. It's not coming down. And you get the added protection of our exclusive fascia wrap. Don't deal with those old gutters any longer. Call during LeafGuard's Ugly Gutters sale. Trade in your old gutters and we'll give you up to $500 towards your LeafGuard purchase. We'll even haul your old gutters away. 0 down and payment starting at just $75 per month. Plus a bonus, call during this program for a free $100 Visa gift card with your in-home estimate. Call 1-800-541-1274. Now, let me give you that number again. 1-800-541-1274.
Sonia and Gerald trust Prevagen for their brains, and this is their story.
I'm Sonia.
And I'm Gerald, and we live in Jacksonville, Florida.
We are both military veterans, and we provide dental care for underserved communities. We have a very busy life.
We take Prevagen for our brains.
I would honestly say I like the way that Prevagen makes me feel. At the end of the day, I feel confident and amazing.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Well, the New York Knicks haven't won an NBA championship since 1953, and after that miracle heart-pounding last-second tip-in in Game 4, could the Knicks win in 5? Newsmax hit the streets to find out what a win would mean for New York.
Do you think Knicks are winning this championship?
Absolutely.
We're going to be the champs. Do you think we're getting this done in 5 games?
Oh, definitely. We're going to cook them in 5 games.
Oh, hell yeah. Definitely done in 5.
Knicks in 5.
I feel like the Spurs are not going to be that energetic. They're going to be a little defeated.
Did you watch the game on Thursday?
Of course I did.
What'd you think about it?
I still can't talk.
Best game I've ever seen in my life.
We proved New York ain't nothing to play with, ever.
It's going down in history, and I think just to witness it was crazy. I felt like you felt it across the board for everybody, every state.
This team broke records right now that no NBA team has broken.
What do you think a championship is going to mean for New Yorkers, for New York City in general?
To be honest with you, I think this is going to be probably the most historical thing that we've ever seen. It's been 53 years. Now, more than ever, the city needs this.
How do you think the city's going to react when we win?
Yeah, I think it's going to get flipped upside down. The National Guard's going to have to come out. New York City's burning down.
My school would go insane.
Oh, we're going crazy. It's going to be a whole parade. The parade's going to last 2-3 days minimum.
How would you celebrate if we won?
I can't say in front of the kids.
I would go crazy if we won.
New York feels like a big city all the time, but now it feels like a small community.
Knicks in 5, let's go! Yeah!
Knicks in 5, and I said it's actually 1973, but it's been 53 years. Yeah, well, that'll do it for this edition of Frontline. I'm Lidia Curanaj. Trust and remember, God is with you in all ways, always. Carl will be back on Monday. Rob Schmidt will be taking it away. Rob, Knicks in 5? Knicks in 5 for you?
That game on Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, whatever night that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I couldn't believe they came back from that. And I sat there and watched the whole thing. I'm not even a Knicks fan. I just wanted to see if they could do it.
That OG Anunoby guy came flying and tipping it in. It was incredible. What a game.
That was like a miracle. A miracle. All right, good to see you. Thanks so much, Lydia.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.